To come, we'll hear from the captain Ben Stokes as well as the fast bowler Sam Cooke, who's making his long-awaited debut, and Zimbabwe's 6'8" bowler Blessing Musrabani. For now, though, I'm alongside the BBC's chief cricket reporter Stefan Shemilt. Steph, it's good to see you. It's been a long time coming. I know the county circuit's been going, but here we are. It's think of England's last Test match way back before Christmas. Here we go.
Yeah, and it's exciting, isn't it? The whole of England international cricket, the men and the women, when you think that certainly after Christmas it's been pretty dismal. The end of the winter, the white ball stuff from the men, the Champions Trophy, and what the women went through in the Ashes. And so the women have had their changes, new captain, new coach, so it's going to be really interesting to see how they go. And from the men's point of view, what they've been saying over the past couple of days, maybe with a fresh approach, a fresh perspective.
Well, I think that's needed too. I mean, I think many people, with their journalists or as fans, who are a bit infuriated, frankly, by some of the silly comments that have been made. You can go back to Ben Duckett at Lords against Australia, can't you, when they all got out hooking, including him, missing out on 100. And there's things that make you scratch your head. And I think we'll hear from Stokes in a minute. I'll talk to him about that. There was always that feeling that actually that's not how they, or we hoped that's not how they talk to each other in the dressing room, that they're trying to give present some sort of image to those of us outside. But it didn't work, did it really, to try and gloss off stuff. Test cricket is not a one-dimensional sport. You can have defensive aspects of play. You need to have sometimes. It's just as if England were trying to be a bit bigger than that.
It's funny because this England team can be exhilarating and infuriating, often really close together, often in the same session. And I would say that most fans, most spectators, most journalists, we get what they're trying to achieve. But it's just when they get sloppy, and particularly sometimes at the end of series. So you think of the last 3 Test series, Sri Lanka at the Oval, the end of the Pakistan tour, and the end of the New Zealand tour in Hamilton when they were awful. Yeah. Those times when it just falls apart. And it's so frustrating because you know actually how good this team can be. And then when you get those comments in the media, and then when they talk about golf or whatever, that is what annoys people. Ultimately, it just comes down to winning. Yeah. Say what you want in the press. Play as many games of golf as you want. Yeah. Just win.
And we know they don't mean it. Exactly. It just sounds silly, and as if they don't care. But we sit and watch them train, watch them practice. You know, they do work very, very hard. Yes, they do like to go out and play golf, but somehow that talking point has also sort of overtaken the major thing, hasn't it? And I think they're right. Whether it's Rob Key who said, "Come on," he was the first one actually to say we talk a lot of nonsense, wasn't he? Maybe that's what to do with it. Interesting things, I mean, aren't there? If we look at this team: Crawley, Duckett, Pope, Root, Brooks, Stokes, Smith, Atkinson, Tongue, Cook, and Shabasha. So there are some talking points there. Definitely the Pope Bethel situation. I don't know who advised Bethel, but you think, that number 3 spot is the one that everyone talks about with English cricket, has done for years, generations, always the most difficult place. And I wasn't in New Zealand, but I saw him play, and I came across Michael Powell on a flight this winter, who coached him at school. And I talked to him about batting at 3, and he said he's the most natural number 3 I've ever coached. So why on earth has this young man not built on what he did in New Zealand and seized the opportunity of nailing down that number 3 spot, get some runs here? But he's saying to Ollie Pope, under pressure, Ollie Pope, to go to a tabloid phrase for a moment, there you go, you have a dart against them, and see if you can take my place.
Or, to flip it round the other way, Jacob Bethel and England know that Jacob Bethel will be batting at number 3 against India, and England feel that maybe 2 months at the IPL in the same dressing room as Virat Kohli and being coached by Andy Flower and being around all those players is of greater benefit to his long-term development. I felt at the end of the New Zealand tour that England had almost made up their mind on Bethel, actually, and it was just the identity of whose place he would take, most likely Pope's. Like you say, Pope and Crawley. Zach Crawley is the other batter under pressure, if you will. They have got an opportunity this week. It almost feels like England want Crawley to open the batting for that first Test match in Perth, barring a complete collapse in form over the next few months. And so, Ollie Pope, unfortunately, may be the man to make way. And he would be unfortunate, given how many different roles he's done for England over the past 12 months. Be really interesting if he makes 100, won't it?
Well, it will. Let's hear from Ben Stokes. I talked to him earlier. Hadn't seen him for a while. He looks as fit as a fiddle, and I thought he was quite pleased to see me, actually. Let's hear our conversation. Well, Ben, it's lovely to see you, and this is the start of a really exciting time for English cricket.
Yes, it's been a long one. Obviously our last Test match was in December, so yeah, being here now, sort of at the back end of May, everyone's really excited to get going again, and yeah, we're looking forward to the summer eventually getting going.
Yeah, I mean, you must be particularly the operation, the rehab, and so a lot of hard work done there.
Yeah, lots. So we had the operation early January, and been a really long rehab period, but it's been good. I'm fit, ready to go, and just absolutely buzzing to get out there and lead the team out in the field tomorrow.
And bowling, long run, bending your back?
Yeah, bowling's gone really well. Obviously rehab plans are all about like the gym work and stuff like that. But then when you start implementing cricket, you got to be mindful and build everything back up. As you know, the strain on the body that bowling gives to you, it's not something that you can just get straight back into. So there was a long period of time of building that all back up, and we had a good training camp last week in Loughborough where sort of ramped it up to my highest intensity, and then just continue from there. So everything's feeling good.
Yeah. Are you setting yourself a limit? I mean, can knowing you, can you set yourself a limit of what you're going to do to start with, or not going to do?
No, definitely. Obviously, in the past, been pretty. I'll just bowl when I need to bowl. But obviously, this time round, with what we've got coming up, even I think throughout the summer, just being careful and mindful of the workload that I'm doing, because me and Baz have had good chats around this in the time off we've had. Obviously, I play another role when I'm not bowling, so when I'm not taking on too much load with the ball, obviously need to think a lot about captaincy and stuff like that. So we've had good chats around that, and obviously if I'm out on the field, it's better than not being on the field.
Yeah, and lots of things going on. I mean, giving up alcohol, I saw as well. I mean, what sort of mindfulness that is, or is it a physical thing, or just something you wanted to do?
No, I think that's sort of been over-egged a little bit. I just didn't have any. I just decided to stay with the booze. I was on my rehab.
You had a night off?
Yeah, night off. Well, a bit longer than night off, but yeah, I'm not off it. Never said that I would be off it. Just making probably more choices to do with around my preparation and recovery when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Okay. How do you look ahead at this year then, Ben? These I know the Test match here obviously, but India and Australia. I mean, do you look at the sort of the big picture of all of that, or are you breaking it down into bits?
I think there is, obviously you have got to think about what we've got coming up, and it's impossible to not. But one thing that I've got to do, and I think we've got to do as a team, and we've spoke about this, is focusing what we need to do in the day, and not thinking too far ahead, if that makes sense. We obviously know what we've got coming up. We've got this Test match against Zimbabwe, we've got India, then we've got Australia. But what we want to do as a team is probably more important than what we've got coming up. We want to win everything that we've got coming up in the next 2, 3, 4 years, but making sure we're focusing on the task at hand without looking too far ahead with the big things we've got coming up is something that we're really focusing on the team and making sure we stay strong to that.
Yeah, I mean the India series is clearly obviously extremely important, isn't it? And will how that goes depend the mood of you setting off to Australia, if you like?
Again, that's way too far ahead. We'll deal with this challenge of Zimbabwe, and then we'll deal with the challenges of the India series when that comes.
Yeah. A lot of competition for places. Can you explain the Jacob Bethel situation? There he's at number 3, seemed to make a very, very good start in New Zealand. An opportunity here, but he's playing in the IPL. Was that a difficult thing to manage?
No, not really. I think it's something that we've sort of had to deal with as a whole ECB, I think, with the IPL and the start of our summer starting, where we've got players over in the IPL fulfilling their commitments, but then also the internet, and then obviously with the break the IPL had, there was that what's going to happen? But we picked the squad for Zimbabwe under the impression where Beth was going to be away, so there wasn't too much of an issue for us. And then obviously he's got some white ball stuff coming up as well, and then who knows what's going to happen in the summer going forward. Yeah.
Now I guess this thinking is an opportunity for a youngster to nail down a difficult position, and to have played here might have been good for him.
Look, I think you look at what Beth did in the winter for us. You talk about nailing down a position. I think Beth's done himself the world of good by the performances he put in there with being part of our plans going forward. So, but it's great to have Rui around this week. Obviously his start to his first class career has been absolutely phenomenal. I think 10 first class hundreds at the age of 21 is something to be very, very proud of, but also proves that we've got some incredible talent to hopefully be able to choose from, and when they get given the opportunity in the future, that we've got some good players who are coming through.
Yeah, I was interested in what Brendan McCullum said yesterday about public statements and reconnecting with the public. What do you think he meant by that?
Yeah, look, I think we've been pretty open and honest with each other. We've gone about things in a certain way with the language that me and Baz have used over the last 2.5 years, and sometimes obviously it can be taken out of context from what we say up in the dressing room for the meanings that we mean by it to then get delivered in situations like this. And now we've sort of pulled that up and we've explained sort of the bigger picture of sometimes the things that we say. It's just lads being a bit more mindful about how they go in and speak about certain situations, or the way in which they respond to certain questions. So everyone's pretty much understood that. And we've always been a team who want to be celebrated by the supporters and the public, but can totally understand in the past where maybe a few comments have been taken out of context, which can come across in the wrong way, even though it's not meant that whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, they were said, but that's not a reflection of what you were saying to each other in the dressing room. It sounds as if what you're saying.
Yeah, there's a lot more meaning to some of the sort of the smaller things that we try and say at the end of series, at the end of days, or how we deliver messages. A lot to do with it is what we thought that team needed to hear, what we thought that the dressing room needed to hear, and individuals needed to hear, to go out there in the pressures of international cricket without adding pressure to what that already gives to players when they walk out there.
And the last one, Ben, the mindset. How are you going to play? How are you going to approach these? And I'm going 10 tests here, or 11 tests in fact. I'm looking at the bigger picture. Are you going to play in the same way? Is it going to be the same, or is it going to be a slightly toned down, or can I use the word common sense sometimes, approach to the way it's played? It's not, well, I mean, you mentioned the last test match being in Islamabad. I mean, the whole thing fell in a heap there, didn't it? Sri Lanka at the Oval. Are you going to try and avoid that style of play while still being positive?
Yeah, the word the word ruthless. I've said I'm not a big fan of it. The word that I do love about what I've tried to install in this team going forward is dominance, and dominate. And whatever situation that we find ourselves in a game, that's the word that I want to be at the front of our head about how we want to take the game on, or how we need to play. There's obviously times where in the past when we're so good at putting teams and oppositions under pressure, when everything's in our favour, when everything's going well. One thing that we have been pretty open and honest about each other is being smarter in the moment when potentially the opposition is going through a phase of play, or where they are on top. How are we going to be able to wrestle that momentum back towards us to then allow us to use our super strength as a team, which is to pile the pressure back on. We've said we've been guilty in the past as a team where we've maybe been a little bit too stubborn and a bit too stuck in our ways, which has actually probably taken us further away from the result that we want. Whereas now we are incredibly clear on how we want to go out there and play first and foremost, but now we've got this understanding as a collective that it's not always going to be in our favour. There is going to be some times where we do need to reassess and understand maybe we need to wrestle the momentum back towards us. And these guys are all incredibly gifted cricketers. They've all got incredibly gifted cricket brains. We all know those moments when we need to do that. So for us, it's about understanding that and really taking that and making that a precious, part of our play. Because everyone knows that when things are going well for us as a team, we're an incredibly hard team to stop. But we know it doesn't always go that way. That word dominant again, that's where it comes in.
And it sounds, while you're doing your weights and all rehabs, you've been doing quite a bit of thinking and reflecting, have you?
Well, look, there's always going to be, being in this job, this is my, fourth, third?
Feels
summer?
like it. Yeah.
It does, doesn't it? For someone like myself to not want constantly lads to give themselves the best chance of improving, give themselves the best chance of being the best player they possibly can be, that's what I always ask myself is what do I need to do, and there's also that team side of it where I don't ever want to look back on my time as England captain and think I could have done more to get the team where I think we can get to. You know, and there's no doubt in my mind that we can be the best Test team in the world. So from here onwards, it's about trying to do that, and the way that you do that is go out there and win games of Test cricket.
There we go, Ben Stokes. It clearly has been in a very reflective mood, Stefan. Going back to what we were talking about a bit earlier, really. I mean, while he's been pumping his weights and doing his rehab, he has been looking back on his 3 years as captain, I think, and where they are. They got to second in the world, which, let's face it, they were in a terrible state when he took over. But he obviously thinks they can do better than that.
Well, first thing to say, and you mentioned it, he looks so lean,
yes.
and he does, doesn't he? And there's been other times when we've said, "Wow, Ben Stokes looks fit." Now this time he really does look.
Yeah.
I've seen more meat on a butcher's pencil. He is slim and he looks ready to go. But you're right in terms of whether Stokes and McCullum and Key want to publicly admit it. They know, and we know. This is it. And maybe not necessarily this week, and they will say all the right things about taking Zimbabwe and treating them with the respect that they deserve. England should win here. They should win handsomely. And then it's it, isn't it? India at home, Australia away. This is what it's all been leading up to. And Ben Stokes, well, he has been doing that lonely rehab. We can see just down here now on the outfield at Trent Bridge, Ollie Stone's going through it.
Same thing,
yeah. And you'll know, Aggers, from the time you played in your career, when you've got an injury and you've got to do all that work on there is no lonelier place, and there is time to think, and it'll be churning Stokes' mind. This is it. What are we going to do? Where can we get to?
I was also interested in his comments about what has been called Bazball, the approach, if you like. And again, it's interesting. I've been pottering around the country doing some theatres with toughers, and we sort of sound out the audience what they think about Bazball, and it always gets a good cheer. Yes, we like Bazball. But getting as big a cheer was, but it needs some common sense. Bit of kind of toning down, not throwing away games, being able to play a defensive mode, which in Test cricket is crucial. You know, there are times you are in a defensive position, like you are in chess. Well, you hunker down a bit, don't you? And you get your way out of it. You fight your way out of it. You put the pressure back on the opposition again. That isn't poor cricket. That's not giving anything away. And it just sounds to me as if. Again, we don't know what they talk about in the dressing room, but certainly publicly they wouldn't have said that last year.
No, and it was interesting what he said. He started using that word dominate, didn't he? That is, I think, a word clearly he's thought about. That when I go to the media, I'm going to drop that word in, and also that little acceptance that they have got themselves into good positions in games. They have thrown them away, and when they have been behind in games, they haven't necessarily done the hard work to get themselves back into situations where they could compete. Because when England lose, they get hammered, don't they? Was it twice last year they got beaten by more than 400?
Throw the towel in almost.
Yeah, exactly. So there's no hiding from that because we can all see it.
Well, but of course, don't forget, we don't draw games. That was also one of their mantras, wasn't it? And surely that has to change in these two series.
Yeah, and it'll be really interesting, wouldn't it, if an India or an Australia series is on the line and it's the fifth test and England are up and they've got the opportunity to draw a game, are you still going to go for the win? Well, that theory is yet to be tested. Yeah. Let's see. But yeah, for Ben Stokes to admit there have been times in games where we have not done the hard work, where we haven't been smart enough to know that we've got to absorb pressure is always the phrase that they use. That is a shift in England's public comment. So let's see how it changes. I'll go back to that point that I made earlier on. We get it. Everyone who watches England, supporters, journalists, former players, we get what they're trying to do, and by and large, we are behind it. It's just a small amount of times when they can be absolutely infuriating.
Yeah. The alcohol thing's interesting as well. He said I think he's slightly reined that in. It's not like you're on teetotal. I checked it with his mum, actually, and she confirmed he's not totally teetotal, but doesn't go for the binges anymore, she said, which is a very motherly sort of thing. But anyway, that lays that to rest. We'll hear from Sam Cooke in a second, but remember, you'll hear every ball of England's test against Zimbabwe on BBC Sounds on air, 10:25 Thursday morning for the first day of the 4-day test match. Don't go anywhere. We're right back. We'll hear from Sam Cooke ahead of his England debut.
The TMS Podcast from BBC Radio 5 Live.
So welcome back. We're here at Trent Bridge, watching Ollie Stone going through his warm-ups and his rehabilitation over there. It'd be good to see him fit and firing. England need all these fast bowlers back during the course of this summer, and of course going into the Ashes as well. It's a very inexperienced attack that they have here. I think the last time was when Jimmy Anderson made his debut, actually, against Zimbabwe all those years ago. If you tally up the tests, Atkinson, he'll lead the attack. He had 11. Josh Tongue 2. It's good to see him back again. What is now his home ground, of course. And then Sam Cook making his debut. Very interesting. I think he's going to go well here, Stefan. I just think he's a sort of bowler against Zimbabwe, who, let's face it, technically are likely to be found out. Cook he's like a robot. He runs in, boom, 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 every ball. He's got a terrific record in first-class cricket. I think he'll go rather well. But you chatted to him. Let's hear from Stefan and Sam Cook.
Sam, thanks for your time. Test match week. How are you feeling?
Yeah, very exciting. Obviously, first taste of the build-up to a game like this. But yeah, it's been very enjoyable. The training's been fantastic, and yeah, just really excited for the week ahead.
You say it's your first build-up to a game like this, and it's been an extended build-up. The squad have been together for a little while. How's it been for the past week, getting around the squad for the first time? Yeah,
they've been amazing. The environment's been very welcoming. All the lads have been fantastic, sort of welcoming myself and Rui into the group. It's been sort of very seamless. Everyone's been, like I say, extremely welcoming, and obviously the training's been fantastic as well. The intensity, facilities, everything, it's been really good, and yeah, great preparation.
Do you notice a difference in the intensity of the training?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think obviously the calibre of cricketers who are out there in training, you've got some of the best players in the world and best players to have played the game out there. So yeah, I think there's definitely a noticeable difference, and yeah, really sort of fortunate to be exposed to that and test your skills against it.
What's been said to you about what might be expected of you, or the job that you might be asked to do?
I think it's just trust what I do well, and sort of keep doing what my skills are, and not go away from that. That's kind of been the message from the guys. So yeah, trust in what I do, and stay true to sort of my skill set. So
if anyone hasn't seen you bowl, what do you do? What are your skills?
I think I'd try and nip a few in and nip a few away, bit of swing, and yeah, just try and make the bat play as much as possible, be aggressive with that new ball, and try and take wickets. So I think in a nutshell that would sort of be my summary of myself, I'd say.
And things like being accurate, holding length, do you see that as your key skills as well?
Yeah, definitely, I think so. I mean, as a bowler, you're always trying to take wickets for as few runs as possible, I think, without sort of overcomplicating it too much. So yeah, I try and tie batters down for as long as possible, but for me it's all about trying to create wickets, trying to keep as many dismissals in play for as long as possible, and that's kind of the sort of cornerstone of my bowling, how I go about it. And yeah, part of that is obviously trying to keep it tight and be sort of relentless, and yeah, I'd say that's it's been a big part of what I do over the last few years.
Any cricketer obviously progresses up the levels as they move through the game, and now you're progressing to the highest level. From your point of view of going up from club cricket through university and pathways and county cricket and all those different things, how easy is it to transfer those skills up the levels?
I think it's about sort of backing your skills, isn't it? I think whether you go for, like say, from university up to second team cricket to first team, I think obviously a lot of it is the mental side, trusting what you do. You've been picked for a reason, and staying true to that. And I think sometimes you learn through experience going up the levels. You maybe try and go away from sometimes what you don't do. So yeah, I think for me it's about staying true to my skill set and trusting what I do.
Tell us about your black book.
Yeah, it was a early joke that's sort of stuck now. So yeah, there's hopefully a few more names to be added in there. But yeah, it started off as a little bit of a joke when I was younger. I had a couple of good scalps early, and Lad said, you should keep a little book of the names, and it's just a bit of a laugh that I've sort of carried on doing. But it's a nice little memento. Hopefully at the end of my career it'll have a few more in it. So
do you write down every wicket that you take?
Yeah.
And how many different books have you managed to get through? Was it just the one?
Still in one. There's a few sort of repeat slashes in that book of multiple ones, but yeah, still on one. And I don't know, maybe at the end of my career I'll have more than one, but yeah, it's sort of a bit of a laugh, to be honest.
Your other love, Manchester United, Wednesday night. Are you sorted?
I think it's going to be a quiet one. I don't think I'll be shouting too loudly about it. I think that probably says about where I'm at with my confidence in the team. Hopefully they get it done. I'll be supporting them quietly from the hotel. But yeah, who knows? Hopefully we get the job done, and that'll be a nice end to a pretty average year.
And you said to me that you're more relaxed when it comes to cricket than when you're watching United. Is that still the case this week?
Yeah, I think so. At the minute it is. We'll see. I definitely get emotional watching football. But yeah, I think I've realised watching Essex as well from afar the last couple of weeks, I've realised I'm a pretty nervous watcher if I can't control what's out there. So yeah, I think it's the same with football.
Good luck.
Thanks a lot, mate. Cheers.
So there we go. He's an intelligent guy, isn't he? I mean, he's well qualified, very thoughtful. I don't think he's going to be one of those who's fazed by making his Test debut, Steph.
No, and slightly different route to the England team to what we see these days. We see a lot of cricketers who've maybe come through scholarships in private schools.
Well, Josh Hull being a bizarre selection.
Well, Cook is he's a club cricketer. He's played at Loughborough University, studied history and international relations. He's switched on, sharp cookie. Manchester United fan. He'll be watching the Europa League final tonight. And what he said in his interview is he's well aware that he has been pushing his case for a long time. And you mentioned Josh Hull, and it was that time last summer when we all thought, how unlucky is Sam Cook not to be getting into this team. And at the time, Rob Key explained it by saying, well, it's just that mix of attack, the style of bowler we're looking for. It was Mark Wood that got injured, so they wanted Hull as something different, as a left armer. And at the time, Key was saying, well, look, if it was Chris Woakes that got injured and we need a replacement for Woakes, we'd bring in Sam Cook. Not as quick, accurate, nibbles the ball around, new ball bowler, all those sorts of things. And Cook said, look, I've always asked the selectors, what have I got to do? And it's never been a case of, you're not this, you're not that. I've just wanted to know, how have I got better? How can I get better to get my place? Now he's saying, I'm 27, I know my game, I'm in the best place to be picked. And I think we'll see that, actually, that someone who's battle-hardened from county cricket, he won't be overawed or fazed. And I'm with you. I think he'll go really well.
I think he'll bowl well here. We shall wait and see, of course. But good luck to him. I'm just looking at the Zimbabwean players lining up for their team photograph, and they've got some very colourful shirts there amongst the coaching staff. But it's good to see them back. You know, it's been a long road for Zimbabwe. Charting that in my years doing this. In fact, I used to play club cricket in Zimbabwe. You know?
Those shirts. Do you know the Olympic Open ceremony when teams come out in all their gear? The backroom staff are wearing sort of, is that a red or a pink, would you say?
Well,
a bit golfy as well.
It's sort of purpley pink, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the sort of thing, the outfits you might see at an Olympic opening ceremony, I'd say.
Very fancy, but you can see there, for a start, the height of Blessing Muzarabani, who's colossal, and he's towering over everybody there as they take their seats. A very inexperienced team. They got horribly undone by the County 11 the other day as well, and although the pitch looks good, I had a look at it this morning, I think they're going to be challenged on there. So Steph, you've been speaking to Blessing Muzarabani.
Blessing, it's lovely to talk to you. Thank you for your time. I want to go all the way back. Tell me about Takashinga and the start of your cricketing journey.
Yeah, the journey is it's a long way with Takashinga, because I started playing at Takashinga when I was 6 years. So it's just the club that actually gave me so much to be a cricketer that I am today, because some of the facilities you get to pay and all those things, but with Takashinga was just the ground that was available for us just for free. So I have a lot of respect for Takashinga, the ground and everyone there.
Yeah. Is that home for you? Is it just outside Harare? Is that what it is?
Yeah. It's where I grew up. So it's just like, very close. It's like a 5-minute walk to Takashinga. Yeah.
Describe what that club is like and who is involved there.
I'll say it's just a lot of young guys actually from I'll say humble background that just play the game. You know, just love the game and play the game. So I'm sure a lot of guys have come out. They've come from there as well. So there's, of course, I can say a lot of things about Takashinga, but yeah, it's just a club that have given a lot actually to Zimbabwe cricket. Yeah.
What was your first exposure to cricket? Who introduced you to the game?
I'll say because the way we were brought up is like in the streets. There were guys that were playing professional cricket when we were growing up. So, and then there were guys as well who were a little bit older than me that they would just play street cricket. So I think from a young age, you just start loving the game from there. Just playing street cricket, and then you take it to club, and then probably to primary level and all those things. Yeah.
What about your family? I think I'm right in saying your uncle played for Zimbabwe?
Yes, he did. His name was Taurai Muzarabani as well. So you see, those are some of the guys who really, made me want to come and play.
When did you think? How old were you when you thought that cricket could be your job, your career? When did that realisation hit you?
I think when I saw I was tall.
And when was that? Because you are very tall.
Yeah, I am. I think, to be honest, I wasn't playing because I wasn't making it in any age group actually. So I started playing when I was maybe under 19. That I started to see me and all those things. So all this while I was just practicing. So I never stopped believing in my skills. So I'm glad that I get to play because, of course, I believe in myself that I could make it. But yeah.
Was there a time when you had a growth spurt? Have you always been taller than most?
Yes, I've been tall. But of course, it's more like I think when I hit age 18, that's when I started really getting tall. But I think taking it back we're a little bit, just normal height. Yeah.
I've seen a few different heights quoted. What's the official measurement? What are we coming in at?
I think it's 6'8". That's the accurate one. 6'8". That's the. I'm not sure about 6'9", but sometimes you get to different measurements, and then they're saying you're 6'9", and then some of them 6'8". But I definitely think it's 6'8". Yeah.
Tell me about Winston Weeks and the influence that he had on your career, because you came here with the Rising Stars on a tour, and is that when he spotted you?
Winston Weeks is this sort of guy that used to come to the ground and just support guys at the ground. He helped out a lot of guys actually in the academy when we were in the academy. So I have a lot of respect for him with his family as well. So he's just a great guy actually, because you'd come and say, if you get a wicket, we will do this. We get it, So it always motivates the guys to work hard and perform. Yeah.
You came on tour as a young cricketer to the UK. Winston gets hold of you. I think you meet Rob Humphreys as well for the first time, and you have a decision to make about coming to county cricket to become a Colpack player, to leave Zimbabwe behind, and you decide to join Northants. How difficult was that at the time? Because by that time you were already a Test cricketer.
Yeah. It was really, really tough. It was really, really tough. But at the same time, that young age, I knew that I wanted to learn a lot of things that time. So for me coming back in county cricket, I was thinking I'll come here. I learn how to be a professional cricketer, and then afterwards I can always go back to Zim as a better player.
And have you thought about what life after cricket might look like?
Yes, of course. We do have a plan, as a professional. That's the other thing as well that I learned in county cricket, thinking about after cricket. So me coming out to county cricket, I just knew that it's something I have to think about after cricket. So I can't really say it on camera, but there is something that I'm really working on after cricket.
And off to the IPL after this Test match?
Yeah. Yeah, after this Test match? Oh, yeah.
Same dressing room as Virat Kohli?
Well, I'm not yet there, but if I do get there, it'll be really nice to work with the guys there, and I'm looking forward to it and learn more.
And just as a final question, how are you looking forward to this week, to showing what you and this Zimbabwe team can do against England and on this ground?
Yeah, I mean, England are one of the best teams in the world, but of course we believes on himself, and we have a lot of experience in our team as well. So we believe we can win, but we just have to bring our A game to really beat these guys.
Good luck, Bessie.
Okay, thank you.
Right, there's Blessing Muzarabani, who's got an awful lot of talent. There's no doubt about that. A lot of promise, and there are some promising young cricketers in their midst. But it's the question of the inexperience, isn't it? It's going to be tough. Sikandar Rao's has been around a bit. He's an exciting sort of shot player, so he might liven things up a little. But the others, apart from Sean Irvine, who's been around for 100 years.
Don't forget Ben Curran as well at the top of the order, the third Curran brother.
Yeah.
The thing I think that's interesting about Zimbabwe is that their Test cricket is going through something of a renaissance. I think it's 14 Test matches in 5 years up to this year. They're playing 11 this year. No other country is playing more. And like you say, Aggers, inexperience, but you only get experience by doing something. I was having a conversation with some of my colleagues as to whether or not a Zimbabwe win here would be the biggest upset in Test cricket history. I defer to you on that one.
That's good. You know who they beat here in the World Cup, of course, at Trent Bridge, Zimbabwe.
83?
Yes, they beat Australia here. So it's happened. I'm sure they might have gone through a bit of history for that.
But big upsets in international cricket tend to be in white ball matches, don't they? And Test cricket, the beauty of it actually is the best team normally wins.
Yeah. Four Dayer should give them more chance of not losing.
Yep.
And it makes it interesting perspective with follow-ons, all those sorts of things. You're looking down the line.
But England don't do draws.